Son with the corner kick. Oh, it's gone in!
Really crowding Onana.
Now what if I told you that these two Olympicos were conceded within the same week by two different keepers? I think that really just sums up United right now.
Here we show you a close-up of a frog croaking.
But let's go back a bit, as our story begins in the year 800 BC. I'm kidding. Maybe another day. We'll actually start this story in the summer of 2024. Man United decided to give Erik ten Hag a new contract despite them finishing in a worse league position than 22-23. So going into the 2024 summer transfer window, the Erik ten Hag project continued to expand. He brought in defenders Noussair Mazraoui and Matthijs de Ligt from Bayern Munich, two players that had previously been at Ajax. He also got a high-profile talent in defender Leny Yoro. Manuel Ugarte was added to bolster the midfield from PSG, and finally, after literally just buying Rasmus Højlund last year, United bought forward Joshua Zirkzee from Bologna. In total, the club spent 214.5 million euros, the third most expenses of any other club during this window. However, just like every other Man United season it seems like, it starts pretty underwhelming with a 1-0 win versus Fulham. But hey, welcome to Manchester, Joshua Zirkzee. The Red Devils then proceeded to the credit card no one in London fucking accepts, and they concede a last-minute winner to Brighton because no one thought to cover João Pedro. The next week was Liverpool, and I mean, come on. Nonetheless, United then managed a 3-0 win versus Southampton after the international break, but that was the last bit of joy they experienced for a while, as the team would go on to win just one of its next 7 fixtures. And after a loss to West Ham, Manchester United cut ties with Erik ten Hag just 3 months after giving him a new contract. And in his place came former legend and now assistant manager Ruud van Nistelrooy. Van Nistelrooy was actually one of the guys United was lining up for the main job back in the summer before they decided to keep Ten Haram. So now was his chance to show that United made a grave error in judgment, like they always do. And he did just that, going unbeaten in his first 4 games in charge. Sure, 2 were versus Leicester City at home, another was at home versus PAOK, but there was also the promising 1-1 draw versus Chelsea. Either way, this was promising stuff, and it only made sense to give Van Nistelrooy the rest of the season and then evaluate what to do going forward. But this is United we're talking about here. Patience, long-term outlook, cringe. Let's just spend 10 million to buy out a manager's contract midway through the season. And boom, 1-1 draw with Ipswich Town. I mean, what the fuck else is this place known for besides giving us retail music? Actually, let me look this up. Ipswich is home to many artists and has a number of galleries, the most prominent of which are the Christchurch Mansion, the Town Hall Ancient House, and the Artist Gallery, and okay, whatever, I've read enough. This shit hasn't gotten any better, by the way. Manchester United has lost 4 of its last 6 games, including a recent 2-0 defeat to Wolves. 18th place Wolves. As a result, United went from 14th after sacking Ten Hag to 14th. 8 points above safety. Sporting died for this, by the way. Now, don't get me wrong, I get the appeal of Ruben Amorim. He transformed Sporting into a ruthless killing machine. But that takes time. And you're seeing a little bit of what he's capable of. I mean, listen, it was Manchester City, but still, they beat Manchester City. Ruben Amorim has literally beaten Manchester City twice this season with 2 different teams. And I'm not gonna blame him for jumping ship and taking the money. I mean, it was triple that he was making at Sporting, I'm pretty sure. And from the articles and interviews that I've read and heard, he seems actually pretty likable. He's not got a random ego like Ten Hag. Like, remember before Ten Hag even managed a single game, he said eras come to an end or something along the lines of that? Like, shut the fuck up. Amorim, on the other hand, has accepted the fact that this team is bang average. Probably worse, to be honest. And he seems to be up for the challenge, which is, you know, promising so far. But it has been only, like, a month or so. Anything can change. United has managed to change the brain chemistry of many different managers in the past. We'll just have to see. Okay, so outside the clueless mismanagement, why is United so god-awful right now? I'm gonna start this unlike I usually do and actually talk about the players. This club has a lot of egos, and that's not exactly anything new. I mean, Manchester United back in the olden days had a ton of egos. But the problem here is that there are so many players on this team that act like Champions League hotshots when they are bang average at best. And a lot of that comes down to the fact that United just is terrible with its money. So yeah, it kind of goes back to the whole issue that United have had for many years. Individuality. There's no collectivism on the pitch. Everyone is just playing for themselves. Because when you watch a United match, You see that entitlement throughout. You got tantrums if someone doesn't get the ball. Extremely selfish play, no one's looking out for each other. Basically, a lot of them just aren't playing for the badge. Now, I think this might be a bit of a stretch, but I think a player that really encapsulates all of this right now is Alejandro Garnacho. Garnacho is a moments player, and it's entirely because of the way he plays like the world revolves around him. He'll do stuff like opt to cut inside into 5 defenders to create a shot instead of making an effective pass to the overlapping fullback. Basically, if he wasn't an Argentinian playing for United, he'd be considered worse than Kubo. And I'm not talking current Kubo, I'm talking Kubo in 2022. Also, he doesn't really track back. In fact, there was a viral clip of Casemiro going off on him for just that. And maybe an even larger reach, that Ronaldo-inspired celebration versus Barnsley. Off the pitch, I also think Garnacho kind of just only looks out for himself. He liked multiple tweets that criticized Ten Hag for benching him, and then there was that one time he took a fail comp made by some rando way too seriously. Now, I know I'm picking on Garnacho a lot here. He's only 20 years old, right? He's a kid. He's gonna grow out of this, or at least you kind of expect him to. But trust me though, he's not the only culprit. Believe it or not though, this is just the surface of Manchester United's problems. I mean, look at the title, okay? Obviously, it wasn't just gonna be that. But in order to go deeper, we actually have to swim back up to the surface for a second. Bear with me. Because a big reason why this team has been struggling as of late, even more than they did under Ten Hag at some cases, is because no one fits Amorim's system. Which, yeah, no shit, they rushed him in the middle of the season. Volatile managerial changes are nothing new to this team. The mismanagement from the board has given way to instability over the years, and I fully believe the constant changes in tactics played a big part in ruining Marcus Rashford's potential. But this recent change is as volatile and extreme as it gets, honestly. First, United make the mistake of extending Ten Hag just because he won the FA Cup. He then makes his transfers, has time to prepare during the preseason. Then, only a few months later, the club sacks him after realizing nothing actually changed and the FA Cup only papered over the cracks. As a result, United had to pay Ten Hag 16 million in reimbursement fees, and then they just decide to throw another 10 million to Russian Amorim, who has, yet again, a completely different style of play. This club is insane. Which brings us to the inevitable, right? In every single Manchester United video, it's always come to this. The section of the video that talks about the ownership. Now, the ownership has actually changed since the last time we talked about Manchester United, because back in the past, it used to be Glazers this, Glazers that, Glazers in, Glazers out. No one's talking about Glazers in. Also, now that we're more aware of it as a world, I guess, what an insane family name. Anyways, back in February of this year, INEOS CEO Sir Jim Ratcliffe was granted control of the club by the Glazers after buying a minority stake in the club. And Brexit Jim's solution to bringing United back to the top was cutting costs, which was a good first step for United as the club had been losing so much money over the last decade pretty much. So, you know, it only made sense to deal with those player weight. Wait, no, hold on a second. Jim Ratcliffe started his cost cutting by laying off over 250 employees and even scrapping their bonuses. Because yeah, Anthony can sit on 200k a week, but God forbid we pay a steward £100 every 10 games. But Ratcliffe wasn't done there, because then he decided to eliminate benefits. Usually staff are given tickets to the FA Cup and their travel costs and even food are covered. But this time around, they only got the ticket. Also, I guess Sir Jim Ratcliffe is also the Grinch. No Christmas party because apparently that's too much money. You notice how I still haven't mentioned a single thing about player wages yet? Recently, the club has also been pricing out fans by rising the ticket prices significantly for every age as well. And he's also distanced the club away from its history by doing things like taking away Sir Alex Ferguson's ambassador role. You notice how I still haven't mentioned anything about the player? So yeah, now you got a club where the results are miserable, the fans are miserable, the staff are miserable, and the culture has been turned into a white drywall. Manchester United, everyone. If you've ever read any stories about United's glory days, you'll always hear about how the club had a warmth to it. Everyone was friendly, and anyone who worked for the club was considered family. CEOs nowadays think that a football club is just like any other business where you can fuck people over and exploit others to maximize profit, and they are flat out wrong. Because even in the world of modern football, you cannot undermine the value of culture, because that will affect the club from the very bottom all the way up to the top. For example, Bruno Fernandes, when he heard that the club wasn't covering travel expenses for the staff who received tickets for the FA Cup final, was so taken aback that he offered to pay out of his pocket. And United rejected this proposal because it would have made them look bad. Incredible. And when shit like this happens, even the players are going to become skeptical, because then they'll start thinking to themselves, do they really want to continue playing at an environment like that? What if they get mistreated? No one wants to play for a club with a toxic environment. No one. Ratcliffe will say, oh, these are tough decisions that have to be made if the club wants to make a profit. You're cutting a grants for an association for disabled people. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, by the way, did you know that Ratcliffe actually signed a new sporting director back in July? And he paid $3 million to do so. Only to then sack him just 5 months later. What a way to be efficient, Sir Ratcliffe. Oh, also, considering what INEOS did to a world-beating cycling team, I don't think it's going to be sunshine and rainbows for United anytime soon. But what do you guys think? Are Manchester United doomed to fail? Will they be in a relegation battle this year? I mean, listen, the team doesn't really have much of a formula to win right now. Or will Amorim revitalize this team, especially going into a transfer window where he can make his own moves, and United will bounce back at least a little bit? Let me know. But of course, a massive shout out to all our members, including Janos Balas, Chupas, Brazilian Fury, Respect the Jeff, Othman JN, Habakkuk, Jeremiah Owusu Ajiman, Django, Sexy Asian Diddler, Anazir Makalankam, Alex Rod, Ulta, Miguel Munoz, Return Fire, Rory Burns, Sliderkit, Snifrix, Taco Okafan, The Cypriot 35, Not Windows 95 Man, Kentra Agatra, Big Boris the Baby Eater II, Kerbo, Unkwell, St. Terrence, Sylvia Citrus, Ryan Jans, Wise Orange, Rashford Enthusiast, Cocosaurus Rex, LeJames Bronze, Samu, Just MRC, Cheesebait, Cooper the Somali Pirate, Claymore Roomba, Wender Gel, M4 Does Stuff, Finn Likes Rugby More, Davox, The Portugizer, TPSK25, Polar Protos, Van Fan, Lucien Von Croix, Ethan Bennett Loves Kavicha, Gazagos Breshkiewicz, Mano Tango Fei, Adrian, A Ghostly Owl, Coney Wolves, Mud Tonight, Nava, Sketchy Card, KM89, Apollo, Kevin Mojica, Chris Visconti, Dominic Griffin, Kyler Krebs, Mohammed Al Tanib, Niche, Patrick Barley, Rashford God 5, Raspberry Ale, and Unbroken Persona. If you'd like to become a member of the channel, there'll be a link down below and up in the annotations. You can follow my Twitter if you want, follow my Instagram if you like, follow my Twitch. Gonna try and stream a little bit more, especially into 2025, maybe some more match reactions, all that kind of stuff. But until then, I'll see you guys.